There we are. Hey everybody, this is your last Ringmaster. If you're wondering about this glistening sweat, well, I decided to forego the gym today and I decided to enjoy nature. So I commune with the trees, the grass, the bushes, and the wonderful animals and critters who just, they commune with each other in their own peculiar way. And it was so wonderful. And I like to have a balance of both the gym and outside. I want to get some fresh air, want to get some sun on my face, want to look up at the sky and see possibilities. It's a meditative thing too, just to walk in the sweat and the purge. It's wonderful. And it's also a way of reminding myself of my responsibilities in my part of the world in honoring this planet, this one planet that we have. As you know, the Amazon is burning. Due to people's greed, and it's not something that should be dismissed. This is an international crisis, and it really requires all hands on deck, all hands of people who have hearts for justice and equity for all, because it's not merely about those who live in that part of the world. It's about all of us. We're in an ecosystem, and everything affects and informs the others, like a circus. And so we are responsible for our place in the world, our point in the world. And so I hope many voices continue to rise up, and I hope action is taken to topple and to challenge the forces that are really motivated by greed, that are motivated by their love of money. And I want to talk about that thing called love. It's interesting, speaking of the love of money, I realize that just that verse alone is probably why so many of us are so illiterate financially, because of a misinterpretation of, did I say that right? Misinterpretation, forgive me, of theology, of what that really means. And that sentiment has not only been a burden to the faithful, but it's been a burden to the secularists as well. I mean, as you know, many American homes are in tremendous debt. Many Americans don't have much savings, despite working, for several years. You don't even have any savings. So we really don't even understand or respect the science of money. We're not students of money because of what's been sent into our atmosphere our entire existence and throughout history. The love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of it. So we don't really understand what that is talking about. It actually comes from a Greek word I'm not going to try to pronounce, but it appears once, I think, in the scripture. And it's not speaking, the root of this word, it's not speaking of the love as we know it, the affectionate love that we know. It's actually speaking of a sort of obsession, if you will. That's what that means. In other words, you could actually rephrase that to mean the idolatry of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And so in that respect, we're not just talking about money, we're talking about how we see love, period. I never thought I'd have to actually say this, especially to a lot of grown people, but there are people who continue to believe in an idolatrous type of love. You've heard it before. You can't help who you love. It just happens. Your heart, your heart just tells you and you just go. I want to curse when I hear that, because that's one of the most dangerous things that has ever been put into our atmosphere. And so many people believe it. And if they really truly believe it, let's just understand, if you really truly believe that's what love is, if you really truly believe love is something you can't help, you can't decide who you love, it just happens, baby, then why are you so upset when your partner commits adultery or infidelity? Because it just happens, right? Exactly. What you're talking about, what most of us are talking about, is idolatry. We're talking about a preconceived notion of what we have and what we think this person or thing or love is, and how we feel it should operate. In fact, you're talking about the roots of prejudice. In fact, that is exactly what prejudice is, prejudgment. It's idolatry. And now we might understand why in the Old Testament God always went buck crazy with idolaters, because of what it causes. Idolatry is really the human ego at work. As my brother Munson Steed, good man, who heads Rolling Out magazine, he said in a beautiful post today on Instagram, ego is easing God out. So idolatry is devoid of love. And in fact, idolatry, in truth, though it may feel like you have an affection, it may feel like you really, really have a sense of goodness toward a thing or a person, it's actually the genesis of hatred. Think it over. Idolatry is the genesis of hatred, where you've hoisted upon a person or a thing your idea of what they should be, of how they should operate. You've mythologized what they are. And when they don't comport with that, you lose it. You file for divorce because of irreconcilable differences. It's amazing. I mean, some of the most ratchetly bigoted people I've ever known are in interracial relationships. And they'll swear up and down that's not possible. I go to bed with thus and so every night. And the reality is they don't realize what their prejudice is. They have a fetish almost of what that person is. That's what it is. It's fetishizing. That's what we do. It's really ugly and it's really coarse in what I'm saying, but it's the truth. We twist love, and that's why we come up with this lazy thinking that love is just, it just happens. I can't help myself. Here's why that's dangerous, because what do you think leads to so much domestic violence? You break up with that person, you can't let them go, and they've moved on with their life. You hear about it all the time, these horror stories. Somebody's boyfriend is stalking them and eventually kills her because he couldn't help himself. Because love is something you can't help. No, that's called idolatry. That's called idolatry. And if you really study and understand idolatry, it is the genesis of hatred. It is your ego twisted. It is you easing God out and putting yourself in. See, because that's what happens when you ease God out. This is the quagmire you have, especially for you heathens. Look, it's a reality. When you ease one out, you got to erect something else, because nature abhors a vacuum. So you got to erect something else. And so that's why we're told God is love. So love is simultaneously a noun and a verb. A noun and a verb. That means before you get to the act of love, to understand love, to act in love, to do the work of love, you have to adhere to the standard. You have to tune into the standard. You have to know the standard. And that standard always goes beyond your preconceived notions, your idolatry. Because that standard is a double-edged sword. Because the thing you think you're changing or you're doing, it actually is also teaching you. I can testify to this because I'm a parent. And any parent will tell you, any parent that's paid attention remotely understands this fact. You do not raise your children to live vicariously through them. Your failed dreams are not their responsibility. Too many parents do that, especially in the world of sports and entertainment. You get these parents who hoist their lives But the kid probably ain't even into that. But because the kid is trapped, I mean, after all, they get their food, clothing, housing from you. What they gonna do? Say no? And they create a world of contention. You see it all the time. These stage mothers, these fathers who got this athletic obsession, and they put it on their children. The kid ain't even into that. Love, a loving parent studies their child. A loving parent does not treat, if you have multiple children, if you're blessed to have multiple children, a loving parent understands that one size doesn't fit all. I do not discipline, I do not show affection, I do not interact the same way with my son at 14 that I do with my 10-year-old daughter. They're different people. Me and my son, it's funny, I remember when I discovered how different we were. My father was a huge fight fan. I became a huge fight fan. And so I thought, oh, I'll pass this tradition on to my son. My son could care less for boxing. He's a nerd through and through. If it's not Minecraft or, what's the doggone? Whatever nerd stuff. And I don't have that in me. I don't have the patience for that stuff. I don't have patience for Legos and all that stuff, but that's his thing. And guess what I have to do as a parent? I got to learn his language. So that way I can guide him in the way that he should go. Same thing with my daughter. In the way that she should go, not in the way I think they should go. I see a lot of potential in them for many things. But love is a study. Love does not begin and end as we seem to think it does. Love is a battle. Love is a war. Love is a growing up, spake James Baldwin. And that growing up tends to mean you have to grow up in it. And so when you're looking at this person, the person of your affections, and you're looking to do that work, because when you're looking to control, you need to stop and think. Love is a double-edged sword. Love is a holistic, edifying type of thing. You cannot venture into love with anyone or anything and not be changed. The deception of idolatry is that you don't really have to do the work. You don't really have to do much of anything. It's set for you. Or you can set it, or you can manipulate it. That's what people mean when they say, I fell in love. That's what they mean. They mean I didn't have to do anything. There's no thinking, there's no work involved. There's no growing up involved. And that, my friends, is not love. So that's your Thursday sermon. That's all I got. I know it's a bit long. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you all continue to subscribe to my page. I hope this matters. I hope it's done something for you. I can't wait to talk to you again. Take care.